Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And I've got a real treat for us today. Darrell Mccollough is with us, and he has this incredible business opportunity. This is a real estate podcast, and it's a self-improvement, self-development podcast, all wrapped up into one. And this encompasses all of that. It's really exciting. It's a way for you to take your current rental and 5 to 10x what you're bringing in. And yeah, I said that out loud, and I am a real estate professional. So we're going to find out exactly how, starting now. Darrell, thank you so much for joining us.
Not a problem. Grateful to be here.
Right on. So tell us your story. Tell me a little bit of your backstory. Where were you born and raised?
Born in San Leandro, California, raised in Stockton, California.
Okay. All right. And so what happened to bring you to, well, first of all, what is it you're doing? What do you do for a living now that you're here to talk to us about?
Sounds good. So essentially, I am a real estate agent and I am a MLO, for those who don't know, a mortgage loan originator. But I started a company in the pandemic, August 2020. Yeah. And what we do is we help people who need housing get the housing that they need. Those are people that may be addicted to drugs, homeless, or those who are dealing with being formally incarcerated, needing a place to stay.
Wow. Okay. So that's a big, tall order. Yeah. Where do you even begin?
I guess at the beginning. So that's what we did. And then just to kind of bring you all the way current, or bring your viewers or audience current, essentially, from that experience of opening up 4 SLEs for myself and multiple ones here in Stockton.
Hold on just one second. Opening 4 what?
4 SLEs.
Which stands for?
Sober Living Environment.
Okay, and very cool.
And then we have SLEB, which are Sober Living Environment Businesses, essentially. So after opening up those, getting the experience, helping other people, I decided, you know what, this is something that I believe everybody could benefit from coast to coast. So here I am talking to you.
Right on, coast to coast. I love your vision. So right now you have 4 locations in California?
So I had 4 locations. Right now I currently have 2. And I'm downsizing because really what's going to end up happening is that I'm going to keep these 2 as my staple houses. And then essentially we're starting to go around and we're doing workshops, 2-day live trainings. And we have one coming up here in California, September 2nd and September 3rd.
Okay, September 2nd, September 3rd, and you'll give us the information. We'll link all that below for any of you that are interested. By the end of this, we're going to have you on the path to where you know exactly what steps you need to take and who you need to help you get there. So you do those live. So are you planning to franchise out?
I just think that the ultimate goal is to help people who are looking to turn their income properties from one stream of income to multiple streams of income, all while helping those who are homeless, those who are addicted, those who are.
Okay, you cut out there. Those who are Can you say that sentence again?
Absolutely. So I think the main goal is to help incentivize those who are having rental properties and incentivize them by, them getting paid to be able to help the homeless, those who are willing to help the formerly incarcerated, and those who are willing to help those who were addicted and now are looking for a safe place to be able to heal and recover.
In a sober living environment. So you're saying if we take the person out of the environment where the drugs and alcohol are flowing freely, it increases their odds of staying sober?
I like that. But I think more accurate would probably be there are people who are like, I am done. I am tired. And now they are looking for a safe place to be able to recover or to start their recovery process. And so that's where the sober living businesses come in. We provide that. And there's different agencies coast to coast who are looking for people who own rental properties to not convert them to Airbnbs or traveling nurses or things like that. They're looking for people who are willing to bring these people in, and they're incentivizing it pretty good too. Yeah.
Okay, so where are the incentives coming from? Is the government paying their rent?
So I think the government is the government is willing to pay, and that is definitely one source, but that is not the entire source. No, there is private pay that we've been able to tap into, because the bottom line, whether we realize it or not, we're in a fentanyl opioid drug crisis from coast to coast, top to bottom in America.
Would you say, and I don't know that you're the expert, and you can say I don't really know, but would you say that the drug and alcohol problem is much more severe now after COVID than it was before?
I think that there's a lot of people in the recovery community, because I've been in the recovery community for 14 years. I've been clean for 14 years. We've seen a lot of staple people that were in recovery, real staunch members of 12-step programs, go back out because they lost contact with other members. And that right there breaks the chain. And there's a lot of people that benefit from those who stay clean, and those who don't benefit from people who don't stay clean. And it's almost like the butterfly effect, where people who stay clean inspire and model the right behavior for people to stay clean. So just to answer your question, I think absolutely. I think that COVID did something that we had never seen in various areas, recovery being one of them.
Let's walk me through it. Let's say someone has a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home, and they contact you and they say, how do I do it? What do I do?
So the first thing we do is we educate them. We educate them on the fact that it is legal, that it is needed, it is scalable. It's a way for them to go from one single stream of income, which, by the way, in America, the average rental income is $13,000. We take that and we 10x that, because we can go from one stream of income on a single family home to upwards to 10 to 12 on a single family home. So it's just, it's simple mathematics, but that's what we do. So we educate them, and then there's a 4-step process. There's an assessment of the property. And then from the assessment, what we do is we move into the setup. And then from the setup, we have the fill up, where we actually help you fill up your new SLEB business. And then we train up you and another person of leadership in your new business, and who will do the day-to-day operations, essentially.
And what are the day-to-day operations?
Day-to-day operations can be anything from drug testing to mediation, to making sure that the chores get done. And I think if somebody's already living in a sober living environment, and they are now part of, the management team, it's not much that they have to do. And here's the thing: sober livings truly run themselves. And in fact, the people inside of the SOLs, they kind of build up their own families, so to speak. And it is very cool to be able to see what takes place in these, and when they really, really are on fire for recovery, and they're getting better, and they're getting their kids back, and they're becoming fathers and mothers, and they're connecting with the spiritual community, whether that's church or a mosque or a temple or like NA or AA. It's just beautiful to see the light come back on in someone who was in someone's eyes who was lost.
Probably especially for someone who's been clean and sober for 14 years.
Yeah, been clean for 14 years. And so absolutely. And I really think that this is the mission that God has given me, to where he's like, you know what? I want you to be able to let real estate investors know there's another way, and that the government, needs help because they're not solving this problem by themselves. If that's the case, we wouldn't have so many fentanyl overdoses from coast to coast. Opioids wouldn't be as big of a deal as it is. Obviously, there's a whole host of contributing factors, but I think the bottom line is what we're looking at is we are looking at a way through the sober living business to be able to get in the fight of those who may have lost someone from drug overdose. So it's a way for them to contribute, for sure.
Gotcha. Well, you're talking to someone who lost her sister about 3 years ago to alcoholism after a horrible battle. And it's just an amazing thing to think that you could do something like this that genuinely helps and is ridiculously profitable.
Sure.
How does that work literally? How do you have a house that's designed for a family of 5 and turn it into a family of 15? Like, what are some of the challenges of having that many people live in a home?
Well, so very good question. I think you're dealing with the fact that there's a lot of personalities. How we deal with it, there's a lot of people that when they come into the home, they have parole officers, probation officers, they have service coordinators that they're accountable to. And so the last thing that they really want is to be able to become or exhibit behavioral problems. And so that's one of the cool things about sober livings is that a lot of people that if they make it here and they stay here, they don't want to, get in trouble, so to speak. They want to continue on the straight and narrow. They want to keep their housing. And so those are great incentives for them to not cause problems for themselves or others.
Okay, so your level of, as the investor, as the person who owns the property, your level of tolerance is going to be different, right? So some people are going to be good with returning citizens that have come back from prison.
Sure.
Some people are only going to be comfortable with someone who just got out of an inpatient care for drug or alcohol rehab. Can you dictate who stays in the house and what level you're willing to have?
Absolutely. So essentially, when they first come in, they sign a thick packet, and that packet essentially says that their housing, them staying here, is contingent on their behavior. And what we have at our houses is the fact that if there's any violence or threats of violence, you're out. Bottom line, because no one wants to live under a threat of violence or in violence. We're just not going to do that. We're going to do something different. And so that's kind of what we do here.
Okay. So when you started your first one, talk to me about that. Talk to me about how it was born and how you went from that to this.
Yes. So the first one I started, prior to this, I was doing credit repair. And I had been doing credit repair for a long time. And it's in the pandemic, mind you. So it's in the pandemic. I'm working. And essentially, I had already had on my heart that I wanted to open up 4 SLEs. Like, it was something that I had written down like years ago. And so essentially what ends up happening is that I take to Facebook and I say, hey, you know what? Anybody willing to partner with me to start a sober living? And I had 35 hearts and likes. And I had a whole bunch of well wishers, but nobody that was really serious to be able to help me. I forgot about that post. A few hours later, I had got an inbox from a guy named Anthony Wilford. Anthony said, hey, you know what? I have a house available for you if you would like it. And I was like, absolutely. And we met at the house. And then, long story short, the first change point was opened. So it was August 2020. 2 months later, it was open. Now we've got that down to we got it down to 3 weeks and we can have you open. But that was the process right there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you have people lined up that want to, you don't have any shortage of anybody who, like, you don't have empty beds.
No, so when I set up SLEs, what I do is I say, hey, in the beginning, you got to look at maybe like a 25% vacancy factor. And we do that just to be, hey, you know what? It's a business. It takes time to ramp up, and it takes time to connect your business to the outside community. And that deals with marketing, getting contracts, becoming what we call a CBO, a community-based organization, where they can start sending referrals to you. So I start with the 25% vacancy factor, and then from there we ramp up, and then you'll keep somewhere probably like a 10%. You'll probably have like three beds open, maybe four. Like for us, it's something like that, two, maybe three at the max, because
Okay.
they need the help. And I don't know where I know you live in, you said
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque, right? Shout out to everybody in Albuquerque. Addiction has really, really gotten bad in California. And so it's homelessness. And so it's needed. We have no problems filling these beds.
Well, it's definitely needed here as well.
Okay.
It's pretty pathetic. We are 50th in just about everything, crime, everything. And so it is very, very needed. And I just took a trip to Oakland,
Okay.
flew into and out of Oakland and did all kinds of different things. And I was stunned by how many people stopped my husband and I different places in Oakland and said, you shouldn't be here. You need to move. You need to get out. And so there was so much of it that I looked up the crime statistics, and that was horrifying. Like,
Yes.
I don't know what ours are, but I hope they're not quite as bad as that, because it's so the butterfly effect you mentioned. Can you explain what that is for our listeners?
Well, I think it's essentially how it works is what's happening in one part of the country has a profound effect in another part of the country, right? And so I think what we're looking at when we're looking at sober livings, we're looking at the effects of drugs coming into this country, crazy, which is just crazy. And then what we're looking at now is how sober livings play a part in being able to help those who crawl out of addiction and make it out of addiction and need a safe place. I think the war on drugs is probably the best way to describe where America is, and the fact that we've been losing this war for a very long time. And that's evident by all the people that have died, whether it's famous people or people who are no longer around the table because they've OD'd on fentanyl.
It is tragic. It is really, really tragic. And when you go into any big city and you see the results of it, or you talk to any medical professional and they tell you like, oh, what they're dealing with. So someone has listened this far. They haven't turned us off yet.
Okay.
You on your website have three different levels. You can just rent your property. What are those levels that how they can get involved?
Sure. So the first level, if you want, you could, we can do it for you. We have a done for you program where we'll do everything from finding you leadership in your home, to, just everything, setting up the business, getting the contracts, the whole thing. The other tier down is the done with you, where we kind of do everything with you. We hold your hand through the process, make sure everything gets done, and make sure that you're cash flowing. The third option is if you're like, you know what, I love the business model, I want to do my part, and instead of doing an Airbnb, hey, I'll try this way, and see what it does. And then we also have a 2-day event that we're starting, that we're launching here in California. And then the goal next year is to be able to take it to various places around the country, exposing the fact that this is a viable way of being able to not only increase your rental income, but be able to help people who are suffering from addiction, homelessness, and who are formerly incarcerated.
Okay. So when you say you're increasing your, you didn't use cash flow, but from 1 unit to 17 units, obviously it's simple math, right?
Yeah.
Of how many people will be living in that property, that's simple math. However, if you want a more hands off and you choose the option where you do it for them, then they just maintain the business running, or you continue running it and they just get a check?
We normally run it for them. We charge 5 to 8%. And that is of the gross, 5 to 8%. And then essentially we run everything for them, and then they get deposits. That's what we do. We just deposit in there. I got multiple investors already doing this, opened up multiple SLEs. We've literally blown up in regards to open up many SLEs in the Stockton area. Like there's a ton of SLEs because of what me and my team has been doing. So like the idea now is to move to Sacramento, and then maybe look at how do we get to Albuquerque? How do we get to, Arizona, and maybe, Dallas and Houston? So it's about moving those ways and just letting people know, hey, it's a possibility, because a lot of real estate investors just don't know. They don't know, and so that's been my mission, to let them know that there's a way.
It absolutely. So when you say set up a home, what would be, and I know you can't give a typical cost, the cost that you're going to give though is probably going to be much higher than any other state, I would assume. What would be the cost to get the house built out the way you need it to be to become a sober living home? Good
question. So, to get started, I would say, I think it's hard. It depends. It depends on the number of rooms. It depends on, I would say you would probably need at least, if you want a done for you, you're probably looking at somewhere between 15 to 20,000. If you want a done with you, you're looking at somewhere maybe between 8 and 12, 8 and 10. Just depending. And I'm just trying to give like a range more than anything else. And then if you want to be able just to, hey, I got a property, you want to try it? Sure. What we look at is we look at splitting the returns. So whatever we get net, we split it with you. Bottom line, you win. First, we make sure we pay the mortgage for you, and then essentially we split any profits that's going on there. Yep, we put leadership in the home, and then of course we have our 2-day training, where that is $3,000. It gives you everything you need. A lot of people don't know too. There's a lot of block grants associated with homelessness and addiction. There's just tons of grant monies out there that will allow you to be able to further build out your business. And whether you want to go buy additional homes, buy a facility, those funds are there, because once again, America's losing the war on addiction. They've lost it. And the only way that we win this war is that we do like what happened in World War I and World War II. Like you had moms and dads, we had our grandparents or great grandparents going to the assembly lines, helping to fight that war. And that's the same thing we have to do. And it's that crucial right now. It's that crucial because our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, they're in for hell if we don't start doing something. And this is a way for real estate investors to be able to give back. There's a lot of people who got properties who are doing Airbnbs and sick and tired of the rating system, the keep a 5-star and the HOAs and all of that. And they want something a little bit more simpler, and maybe can be able to help. So here you go. Start at soberliving.com.
Preach it, brother. That is so cool. I am like, seriously, you're bringing up what we did in World War I and World War II. As Americans, we got to get together. We got to help each other. The family has been destroyed, and so you're creating families with these sober living homes.
Exactly. And then they're coming out of these homes stronger than ever, more clear than ever now. And then not only that, through their own testimonies, their own experiences, they have the keys to free someone else from addiction and homelessness. So it's just kind of how it works. Once you go through something, you get to the other side of it, you have the experience to be able to show somebody, hey man, this is how you do it. So like we're changing lives over here, over here in California, but we had to reassess how we deal with this problem, because throwing money at it doesn't necessarily work, because it would have worked already. What we need is to enroll people, incentivize real estate investors, and say, hey, here's a viable way for you to be able to get cash flow and allow us to be able to utilize your property so that we can fight. We can give all the MFTs and the licensed clinical social workers and the drug counselors and the service coordinators, give them the artillery and the spaces that they need to be able to help our loved ones. So right. That's the real mission, and so and I had a long talk with somebody, and they were like, I don't know if I get this, and it's about the money. And the truth of the matter is, people who own properties, they're getting properties and they're looking to be able to get money, whether that's renting it out, Airbnb, whatever. Give them the money that they need so we can get the spaces that we need to help the people. Bottom line, right? Absolutely. So that's just where I'm at. I love what I do.
Well, it shows. It absolutely shows. Okay, so you have someone who basically stays in the home, and they would be considered like a house parent?
Yes. So essentially, they would be considered the house parent, and they help run your property. Yep.
So are they responsible to provide meals?
So it depends on the contract. So some contracts say, hey, we want you to provide meals. Some contracts say, no, you don't have to provide meals. I think it just depends from contract to contract. And even if it is, some people are like, oh man, so you gotta provide food. But when I really started looking at it, it's you providing the essentials that they would need to be able to go ahead and make a meal, to make a sandwich with chips, be able, a lot of the times they'll end up cooking together. They'll do a pasta together. They'll do the whole spaghetti thing or whatever, barbecue, so yeah, it is community living. It is getting better together is what it is.
Wow. So this is very cool. So you're not just providing a home for the people who need it. You're also then providing a home for the house parent.
Right. So it is a space for them to be able to stay. Live in is preferred, whoever that person is going to be. Live in. Obviously, as an owner, you wouldn't be living in it, but they would be accountable to you. Or what we do is we put like a servicing company. So we have the first of its kind sober living management company that essentially will manage your SLE for you. And so what we do is we stand between, we are the middleman between the leadership in the home and you. And we make sure that the payments that we agreed upon get to you. Any issues with the property get to you. Anything concerning the property in or out. So yeah.
Okay. And you're looking to expand. And are you willing to make Albuquerque one of your first expansions?
I am willing to help anybody who is willing to help the homeless, help the formerly incarcerated, and help those who are addicted while making a profit. I am.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So we're going to follow up on this. This is going to we're going to do another podcast because one of my rentals is coming up. And if we're ready to do this, let's do it. Let's see how it works and show the public how it works.
Right. Absolutely. I have no problem with that. There's a few things I do want to talk about. I want to let people know, because there's going to be a ton of questions. They can go to my YouTube channel. You can punch in Starter Sober Living. You'll be able to find it. My name is Darrell Mccollough. And then just want everybody to know, like, this is a viable way to be able to help the community while helping you get multiple streams of income, passive income, for sure.
Absolutely. It sounds too good to be true.
That's what I keep hearing. And so the idea is, we've all heard about halfway houses in our lives. We've heard about transitional livings or sober living environments. We know that they're there. But they've always been running in the background. No one has ever really, even as a real estate professional, you're like, yeah, I have heard of them. But one is, I think that the industry is really guarded, and they didn't want this information being leaked out. Two is, I think that there was never a streamlined process like what we're providing at startersoberliving.com, where we have this, we have the process, we have the experience, and we can show you how to get up and running. On top of that, the first of its kind sober living management company that will actually put leadership in your home and be the middleman to make sure that your property being taken care of, payments are being dispersed properly, all of those things.
Very exciting. So basically, you're not calling it buying a franchise, though.
No, I know. And so what I think it is, it's more of consulting than anything else. So we come on as a consultant, either alongside you or we just do it for you, right? And then, of course, you can be able just to rent out your property and we split profits, or you can come to the 2-day seminar that we will be having coming near you real soon. And or you can come to the one that we're having September 2nd to September 8th at the Hampton Inn and Suites in Lodi, California. 2 jam-packed days for sure.
Oh, no doubt. I am so proud of you. So how do you, here's the big question. How do you stay clean and sober for 14 years?
One day at a time, really. Seriously, it is a one day at a time. It is moment by moment. It is situation by situation. You know, staying clean is what I do. And I think I really attribute it all to God in building or rebuilding a relationship with God. And I think somewhere in addiction, we might not lose God, but we lose the communication. And this is how I always say, imagine God is a bank, right? And you have, or just imagine that there's $1 million that you have in the bank. That's better. And you know that you have the money in the bank, but you don't have a debit card, so you don't have access to that money. So essentially, if you don't have another source of income, you present as poor, but really you're a millionaire. And I think what happened for me is that there was a bridge where I got reconnected to God. I got that debit card where I could access, and it changed everything.
So did you have to hit the proverbial rock bottom for that to happen?
Absolutely. And I think everybody's bottom is different. I think for me, not having the relationships that mattered to me in the forefront or the forefront of my life, or I think it was the relationships that really took me to my bottom. You know, my son starting to notice things of that nature that really took me to a place where I was like, you know what, it's time to do something different. And so, so that's what I did. And that's what
So how, obviously this is a passion for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you go through treatment? Did you end up in a sober living environment?
Funny story is that for me, I never went through an SLE in that sense. But I think for me, it was me living in places that I didn't want to live in. And it just completely changed. It was a rock bottom, being homeless was a rock bottom. And I wish now I would have gotten to an SOE, actually.
Yeah, it must be amazing to look back and think, if I had had that kind of leadership, if I had been around in that environment.
Yes, for sure.
And so that is part of how you run what you're doing now, so that you provide what you would have wanted to have.
Yes.
So Ed Milet, one of my favorite people, says the person you can help is the person you used to be.
Wow.
So your vulnerability in doing this and helping, it's like, I'm not a recovering alcoholic or anything, but I've had the exposure because of my sister. And for somebody like me to be able to hand her over to somebody like you is, and I did that once for treatment once. She went through it once, but it is the most, I can't describe to you the weight that it takes off of the family members when they know that their people are in some place that is good for them.
And I think that's the other thing that you got to look at. So when we look at treatment opposed to or contrasted with sober living environments, the first thing is the cost, right? When you look at inpatient treatment, you're looking at $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. When you're looking at sober livings, you're looking at $850, $1,000 per month and pretty much the same things going on, right? We just cut out all of the inpatient treatment that they say works, that's approved by the government, but those who have really lived it, we know that places like AA and NA are just as good, and in some cases superior, because of the community. It's the I go back to it again, it's the relationships that I've built that got me clean and kept me clean. The community. It's also the relationships that were so torn and tattered that made me say, you know what, I need to look for something to help me. And so it was the relationships that were torn between me and God, me and myself, me and my loved ones. So it has been a relationship. And someone said that recovery is all about relationships, and I believe that. I believe that it's all about relationships. So that's what we do. Well, that's what we do. We're in the relationship building business.
That's a great business to be in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Darrell, so much for your time. Thank you for in this world. You're making a powerful, positive difference, and you just got to keep on doing what you're doing. The world needs you.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And we will follow up hopefully in 6 months or so, and tell everybody how wonderful it's working here in New Mexico.
Love it. Thank you. And they can follow me at Darrell Mccollough. You can a few things. You could be able to grab my book at darrellmccollough.com. It's a step-by-step, blow-by-blow of everything of how I started, scaled, and marketed an SLE business. Also, you could be able to go to YouTube. We talked about that. And then you can go to Eventbrite to look at the 2-day event that will be in Lodi, California. If you're willing to be able to fly out, I think that would be an awesome way. We do have financing for those who are like, I would love to do this, but it may be a little bit too much. We have financing on the website at startersoberliving.com. And I have a promo code for you. You give me a call.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So can you send me the link to that, and we'll put it on here?
Absolutely.
So that they'll make, the easier it is, the less resistance, the more likely that somebody's going to push the button. And get started, guys. Get started on something that will help you. The thing that we need most in life is passive income, so that we can be free to be with our families and our loved ones and do the things that we're called to do. This gives you that. And I can't imagine how fulfilling it must be. I mean, tell me just one quick story before we go of someone whose life is 180 degrees different than it was when they walked into your building?
So there is a friend of mine. He came to us, and he had trouble in the beginning, and he had gotten drunk, and I was like, "Man, you're out of here, bro. It's too much." And then he said, "Darrell, please give me another chance, please." And I said, "Okay, I'll give you one more chance." And since then, this man has gotten a job. This man has changed his complete life. He started on a road of recovery, an active change in his ideas and his attitudes. He's a different person because of Change Point and startersoberliving.com. It works. It works if you work it. It does.
It absolutely does. And then the fact that you're just, you only see the story of him that you helped, not his significant other, his kids, the people at the grocery store,
Right.
it's like, that's the butterfly effect. And
it is right there. And it's the peace. And that one person gets clean, but his mom has peace now because she knows where his son is, or she knows where her son is, right? And like you're saying, it keeps going on, it keeps going on, it keeps going on. It is. And I don't even think I completely understand how God is using me right now. I don't think I completely understand at this point. I would love to come on a year from now and be able to talk about the journey, because this is one of, I've done some podcasts, but this is the one where I've come to and I'm fully immersed in what I'm doing now as far as my calling. So yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm in an office with 350 of the best realtors in the state. No kidding. And a lot of us are investors. A lot of us have properties, and we have a need in this state. Big, big, big time. So
do it.
Let's do it. Thank you so much.